Most of the people think we need more and more charging infrastructure, but there's a lot of charging infrastructure already there. The question is, how can we use that in a really smart and economic way?
Are we really transitioning away from carbon heavy energy?
I think we will need for a while gas-fired power plants, because that's really the flexibility backup for renewable energy in our systems.
Hello and welcome to VCO2, the podcast that helps you become a smarter impact investor and a better climate tech entrepreneur. Today, we're joined by Jan Lozek, founder and managing partner at Future Energy Ventures, a VC fund that invests in startups transforming the energy ecosystem. In general, FEV looks for digital, scalable, and asset-light companies that have shown evidence of product market fit and are seeking Series A round. Before we start, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, or give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Let's dive in. Well, I guess so. You've been an investor for approximately 7 years in that space. I'm curious about what excites you today, in the energy tech market. What are the technologies that you look at?
I think that there's three really exciting points right now in our market. The first point is, last year we have invested into a VC climate tech, and largely climate tech is energy tech, isn't it? If you think about the electrification of transportation, if you think about the built environment, and if you think about clear energy tech grid systems and so on and so forth. We have invested almost 40 billion into this sector, and from Series A to C and D. And that's a huge amount. And what's exciting me, we are getting more and more really, really exciting deals. That's one point. So there's a lot of opportunity. And on the other hand, we are becoming mature. No, we are in a serious crisis of geopolitics right now. No one knows what's really is happening, but what you see is our technologies, they're scaling and scaling and scaling. So we have more electrical vehicles on the street. We have more heat pumps. We have more PV. And if we have more and more and more of this kind of stuff, we need a lot of digital tools of organizing that. So I'm excited because of opportunity, despite all the facts and things we are seeing right now.
No, for sure. And what are some of the investments you've done last year? In which space specifically? Because you've mentioned electrical vehicles, you mentioned photovoltaic panels, but those feel like the old energy tech market technologies from 10 years ago, right? What are the new technologies that you see in the market?
So last year we did a couple of investments. Just wanted to highlight maybe three. One is a company which is called Piclo from UK, and they're really innovating the topic of how to use decentralized energies for backing up the energy system. Where there's no wind and no sun in our systems. So how to use energy which is produced earlier or later. So we are thinking here kind of flexibility management solution, and that will be an ongoing investment scheme for the next few years. There are a couple of technologies, and AI will play a huge role in that area. The other topic here we've invested last year is into a company which is called Reef from Munich. They are doing charging infrastructure. They are not selling an infrastructure. They're making that more smart, so that we all can use, for example, a wall box in a different building and a retail store and so on and so forth. It's really exciting. They're onboarding more and more charging systems in their solution. And most of the people think we need more and more charging infrastructure, but there's a lot of charging infrastructure already there. The question is, how can we use that in a really smart and economic way? And the last topic is really exciting. That comes from the US. The company is called Station A, and what they have developed is really exciting. They have created digital twins of all our cities, and with that they can tell us really precisely what or how to renewabilize buildings in a large scale, not one building, hundreds of buildings in a short time. And that's also then connected to a platform which already calls in solution providers, which then install and manage your building to get to net zero here. So just three examples, and that's also kind of an example of our strategy. We are looking at this three areas: the built environment, the e-mobility space, and the energy space.
Do you think we need more hardware as well?
So we definitely need more hardware in all markets on all continents. But our focus is not hardware, because if you think about hardware, renewable technology, EVs, heat pumps and all these hardwares which are around renewabilizing our world, they're already quite there yet. No, they are scalable, and they are scaled by large companies. It's not a startup problem to solve. And here we see just more and more adaptation with the help or without help of the governments. That's not the point. The point is, if we're getting more and more decentral energy systems, we need to organize, to connect and manage that. And here AI digital tools play a huge role. So how to connect hundreds, thousands of PV panels from private customers into a virtual power plant, how to do that. And here we need software, and how to trade that then into the market. Here we need AI. So we are really looking into the the software or digital tools we can use in order to create an energy system out of a lot of smaller energy systems. And if I'm talking about energy system, I'm talking about battery of a car, a heat pump in a house, a PV system on top, and so on and so forth. So software will be the clue and the most important thing in order to make the energy transition work.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I like how you describe a house as, like multiple layers of like potential energy. Specifically, like, for example, the battery of your car is one that I think is very interesting as a concept. How can it provide energy to your house, for example? Um, I love that you mentioned AI. What are the plays you see with AI, in the near future in the energy market?
Yeah, yeah. A couple of plays in all three areas which I've mentioned. What we have seen, and I think that's the main shift and change since 2016, is we are more and more connected. There's a lot of IT infrastructure in place so that we can see and we get the data we need in order to then feed AI with helping us to organize, to manage systems. So on the data infrastructure side, the energy transition is well equipped already. And now with the new ways and the new technology on AI side, that can help us really to move the needle, to be quicker and cheaper in organizing and connecting and managing, just managing. Just think about the again about this virtual power plant idea, no, where you connect hundred thousands of smaller energy production units, all different owners, and then you wanted to connect it technically, and then you wanted to trade that into the market. And here you need to find a decision. You need to make your decisions about selling and buying and connecting in seconds, in minutes. The market is organized every 15 minutes. I have a price signal and so on and so forth. That's not a human task anymore. And we see that more and more. And AI will play here a huge role on this side. But if you think also about the grid systems we have built up for organizing the energy flows into our countries, the grid systems they are caused or the energy transition caused a lot of problems every day because there is enough energy in the system, there's too much energy in the system. I need to switch something off and on and all this kind of stuff, and that's the typical problems which can be solved by AI easier than we could solve it ourselves.
No, for sure. And would you say that in the past we were losing energy as a result, like wasting energy as a result of like having, for example, too much at a time that we didn't consume? Because like these topics feels like they're new, or maybe they're new to me only, but like it feels like they're a bit new. And I guess it comes maybe from the fact that we have more and more different energy sources than we used to have before. But then equally, I'm wondering like why does it come out just like right now? Like in the era of AI, all of a sudden there is a huge play to do in that space.
I think there are two mega trends combined in energy transition, combining here, and that creates challenge and the need for a solution on the technology side. No, one topic is nowadays we have a lot of days in Europe where we have 100% renewable energy production, and we have a lot of days where we then have too much renewable energy production in our system. And what's then happening on the energy management side? So grid operators usually, if they have too much energy or too many electrons in the system, they switch it off. So what it mainly means, your wind power plant or your PV system is producing energy, but it does not get into the system. It's just stopped or it needs to stop. um, and this renewable energy is not used, and instead we are using fossil energy, and that's technically a problem for all of us, no? In the very end. So we need find means and ways to store, to organize that renewable energy production differently. That's one thing, and then so we need to find a means to organize that differently. Then in another way, the grid systems, they are not built to really understand and see what's happening around. They are just focused on a couple of connection points with a larger energy production facilities. So they are not aware of what's happening around with all the smaller decentralized energy users, and we need to make them today more intelligent that they can call in and can use a more efficiently renewable energy in the system.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Going back to what you said on the renewable energy, like how much could we power Europe with renewable energy today? Like if we were able to like use it 100% of the time at the maximum capacity, like how much would that be?
Yeah, I don't have the figure for Europe at hand, but Germany last year we had more than 50% of renewable energy production, or we used more 50% of the energy we used were renewable. Um, and then we have overcapacity already compared to what we need in general on capacity compared to fossil energy generation. However, if you only want to use renewable energy, you need much more overcapacity than we have today because you have the problem of there's not always sun and wind at the same moment. And with more coupling between countries, and with more batteries, we will make a lot of way towards the energy and net zero goals.
Are we really transitioning away from fossil fuel energy and like carbon heavy energy, or are we just like consuming more? Because it feels like from your point of view, it's like we're creating a lot of renewable, but then equally, like we consume more and therefore we still have this carbon heavy energy.
Definitely, we are consuming more, we're electrifying more. Just think about transportation, EVs, and so on and so forth. However, now then we are consuming also less fossil energy. So we have less and less coal fired power plants or gas fired power plants. I think we will need for a while gas fired power plants because that's really the flexibility backup for renewable energy in our systems. And maybe there's a way towards more clean gas use or hydrogen use in future, or what we call in the climate technology transformation the CC, carbon capture storage or usage technologies that can help us to help here, but we see less and less fossil production.
But you mentioned storage and hydrogen, and this feels like long-term play for the energy market. But yeah, at your firm, you don't invest in any of this because you invest mostly in software. Do you think you will be missing out on this technology in the future?
No, no, we don't. We won't miss out. There are a couple of other investors which are focusing on that technologies. And how I see the energy transition, I see it in two steps. And the first step is really use what we already have today to use it at the maximum capacity so that we can get forward with to net zero. No, and if you look at the current technology stack, the technology we have at hand, they can help us to reduce our emissions at least by two-thirds. And if we achieve that in the next decade or so, that would be amazing, no? And that's my mission and the mission with our fund, and that's why we are focusing on digital tools. However, we need to focus and emphasize also on new hardware technologies, and then you talk about fusion, hydrogen, even better batteries, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of funding from governance, so I'm absolutely confident that we see a really exciting technologies which will then help us in a decade from now to do the last mile.
And is it the role of venture capital to finance this technology?
It depends on the technology, but I think it's not our role as venture capitalists, and it's also not fitting to our business model. Usually, we invest into an early stage business, just decoupling it from climate technology. But what we do is we're investing into early stage business. We have a holding period of 5 or 6 years, and then we sell it again, isn't it? And if you think about in hardware development, it can easily take you 10, 15, 20 years. So it's really, really complicated complicated to make that a venture capital place. And even if you look at the technologies we have right now in the stack, especially the larger technologies like wind onshore, offshore, PV, that was all funded and subsidized by governments, if you see it. And now the technology is in a market, it's profitable, it's an economical market. So I see here a strong role of the societies and to push forward and to scale the economics down to a reasonable point to make it work by all of us, but not by VCs.
It's super interesting. I think it's a great discussion to have because obviously like we need someone to finance this new technology, but then also they require so much capital and throughout such a long period of time that obviously it becomes very difficult for VC to invest there. But so we kind of get your point of view on the opportunities. So it's mainly around the software and connecting all of the actors, either on the grid or like any other actors that play a role in the energy ecosystem. I'm curious about the risks or the challenges you see in this type of startup. Like, you know, if I'm not an investor in energy and tomorrow I want to invest in energy, what are the biggest risks I should be aware of?
Yeah, first of all, it's the usual thing, if you start early, it's always the team and the people, and that you have a group of people with the same passion, mission, different expertise, backgrounds to make that work. And even in the energy transition, it's more important because you have more challenges, no. And then with regard, what's really special, I think, if you think about new technology and the task you wanted to innovate the current systems, it's quite not easy to find the right technology which is scalable based on a existing energy system, for example. Know how to connect high tech with the current grid tech, or and what are the right solutions here to do that. That's really complicated, and therefore you need a lot of expertise and also help and collaboration with the current players in the market. And here you need to be precise and really understand if it's really possible, is it scalable, not only from a technology point of view, also then from the connecting point of view. And here, therefore, we have in our fund, we have a technologist, chief technologist, who's just helping us with seeing and understanding. That's one point. And the second point is, I mean, the industry, it's a mess. No, it's not a mess. They're really, I think energy is caretaking. The people are staying there for 20, 30, 40 years. You're buying an asset and you run it 40 years. No, that's energy, or at least what energy was in the past. So the people are really caretaking and they have a long-term view. So it's difficult to sell new ideas and innovations into the market, into this industry. So you need to be really good in and really quick in seeing and understanding whom could be my customer and winning them over. And therefore we as a fund, we have developed a kind of a network in order to be quicker and faster in selling solutions. I think selling the solutions is really, really critical. And if you are not aware, or if you don't have and the right approach, it could take a decade or so until your technology is into an energy management system of a large utility or so.
So if I need to build a network, like let's think about it through the lens of the movie Avengers. Like I need to build my super team of people to build an energy startup. Like who should I need? Do I need someone from the government? Do I need someone from a big corporate? Like who should I need?
There are two different sides. No, I would say you need a partnership system, a stakeholder. You need to make sure that you understand whom your stakeholders, and you have mentioned just one, regulations government, that you really see and understand how's this system regulated. And it's not only about subsidies, it's also understanding how it really works, no, what the regulator needs to agree with, and on all this kind of stuff. The second topic is you need to have people from the industry. No, if you wanted to innovate a building with new renewable software technology, you need to understand the real estate sector and so on and so forth. But that's more on the stakeholder side or potential partner side. On the investing side, you should have people in your team with the experience from the sector. I think that's the maybe the missing point, or the important point. So you should have to have the right team, but also some experts from the industry you wanted to innovate of. I think that's the missing piece, and all the rest is quite comparable to any other kind of startup you create.
So that means that eventually you want to have in your VC firm a scientist or someone that has very much like a technical knowledge. You mentioned that you have a chief technologist. Like, what's her role? I think she's a woman. So, what's her role?
It's the chief. It's in him. No, it's Boaz from Israel, and his role is really to validate new technologies, and tend to validate that into the energy technologies sense, so context. So does it make sense? Can we connect it to the current system? Is it then scalable? What needs to be done? And then also validate that with chief technologist officers of large companies, so that we really understand if this technology can be used, will be used, and can be scaled in the market. I'm not so strong in advocating for scientist people. I'm more talking about, I think more importantly, it's the relationship part of of this energy aspect. So you really need to understand how energy people think. So you should have an understanding about the other side, no? That they have really, that you can align your interest, and can align and create meaningful relationships. So that means people with an engineering background, working for a couple of years in an energy company or in the energy company environment, that would be the right a person. It's more about selling, business developing together with partners from the energy or energy related industries.
Okay, that makes sense. Really clear. Just going to another section very briefly. I think those technologies, in order to succeed, they need to scale really fast and to massive level. What are the challenges in scaling, an energy tech startup?
Yeah, and we have also in the energy tech sector, we have the obvious topic in Europe. Series A and B, it's easy peasy, and then it gets more difficult to get investors on board. What we see in all European countries is that the governments are supporting with their sovereign wealth fund organizations and banks here, and trying to support. That's great. And then we have a couple more of strategics supporting here. But what we see, especially in the hardware side, what we are seeing right now, a couple of companies need to move to the US in order to get funding into the next stage. I think the biggest missing problem stays or remains the same as Series C and D funding. So you need to make sure, if you're investing in Series A and B, if you think it from the other point of view, from the investor point of view, always make sure that we have sufficient follow-on capacity, investment capacity. So we, for example, our fund strategy is 40% initial ticket, 60% doubling down on the best performing companies. And as an investor, you need really to count that in, that you have sufficient runway, also new fund to support companies, or you have the right partners, investment partners in your cap table, which can provide the runway, because it's not that easy, especially in that type of situations where we are right now in. Now funding companies which no clear mean to a break-even point or cash flow neutrality. It's really too difficult to get financing right now in this kind of type of market. So you need to have the right investors on board already in a Series A and B. Otherwise, it could be a problem later then.
And is it easy to extend to another country in Europe? Because obviously, like scaling in Europe, specifically in energy, where like it's super regulated, like my thought process would be to say, well, if you've developed super well in Germany, it doesn't mean that it will take off in France in the next day. It's very much different to what you would have in a like traditional software companies where like you have probably less regulation and less of a specific uh, infrastructure per country? Like, is it possible actually to scale to multiple countries in Europe?
Definitely, that is possible. And we see, for example, the company I've mentioned in the beginning from our portfolio, Piclo, they are selling their technology in Italy and Germany and UK and so on and so forth. So for a couple of technologies, it does not make it does not it is not an issue. You can do that, and then it really relates to regulations. So what you have to do if you wanted to go further out and moving further out into Europe, you really need to understand different regulations, because regulations is not always the same and that means then also you have to tweak your product into a different direction. Just one example: in Spain, it does not make sense to buy batteries if you have a PV system, because there's somehow a kind of a virtual battery already part of the regulatory system. And in Germany, it makes a lot of sense to have a battery because you don't have the same comparable regulations for utilities here in Germany, and that kind of type of things lead to a fact that you have to adjust your products in either way. If you think just about the grid, how to organize the grid, maybe that's a really global point. Yeah, here it's really about how to make it more reliant, more agile, and here you can use in any country the same tools in order to make solve that problem. No, I would say on a customer side could be more difficult than on the real infrastructure side.
And I guess before we close off on this episode, I'd love to transition to one last section, which is about the support that VCs can bring to these companies when they try to scale. What should they expect from future energy ventures if they finance my company? Like, what type of support will you bring to the company?
So we have focused ourselves. I mean, we do a lot of things, and but generally, I think that there are 3 points we are emphasizing when we support and also look into an investment. One is this technology component I've mentioned earlier in our meeting. So we have someone who really understands technology on both sides, utility side and on the technology sector side, and he helps to see and understand if the technology is already there, and then if you have invested into a company, helps with developing that further, having the right technology team, but also then the right technology approach and roadmap moving forward. The second topic I've also already mentioned is business development. We have created since 2016 a huge ecosystem of energy, real estate, and OEM players, which are keen and seeing and understanding technologies from startup. That means we have access to selling solutions from our portfolio companies to partners from our network globally into all continents. Even when we do our due diligence, we already reach out to Asia, North America, and other European players and asking, hey, what do you think? Is it something? How would you to see it? Would you like to become a customer? That type. So really wanted to speed up the sales process if we are getting into a company. And thirdly, I think that's basics for any kind of VC business. We have a psychologist in our team, and she's really helping with seeing and understanding this. Is it the right configuration of people or what's missing, and then helping them to grow with what we have, going to really simple things: recruitment, finding right we have a database of CFOs, CTOs, COOs, and all these kind of questions you tackle when you evolve as a company. But we are also our people partner. She's really good also in coaching and developing and helping on the more soft side of the business side. That are the three key elements we provide as a venture capital investor to our investees.
Great, super interesting. Well, look, one last section for today. We always end on that section, which is a fire question, as we call them. You'll have maximum one sentence to answer this question, and we'll try to cover as many as possible in the next 5 minutes. Are you ready?
Yeah, cool.
What's the most underestimated opportunity in energy tech today?
Artificial intelligence.
Super interesting. I would say that maybe it's overrated because everybody's talking about it. But what's the biggest red flag when evaluating an energy tech startup?
There's this short sentence, no? Three men from the same university with the idea to change the world.
Is that a red flag? Why is that?
Yeah, diversity, it's king. No, it's usually if you're just coming with the same mindset and setting what I just wanted to just have, and you have your own ideas, so to say, it usually does not work. You need more more diversity in order to bring that to the next level.
What's one policy that could accelerate energy tech just like overnight?
Yeah, good question. Maybe not the instrument, just the strong empowerment of people by governance to use renewable systems.
Great, very interesting. What's the best innovation you've seen in the space?
I seeing each day a lot of innovations. But if you think about scalability, I'm just going back to PV. When I was a kid, it was really random to produce energy from PV in Germany. If you look now at PV in Germany, it's the cheapest technology you can use to produce energy. And we see a lot of types of technologies which can have the same impact, but I think still it's really exciting. No, the same as about electrical vehicles.
It's great to see those innovations scale to a point where like the economic makes sense as well. If you were not a VC, what role would you play in the energy ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, it's impossible to think about me in a different role. I guess there are a couple of different roles, but I really feel like I'm the strongest and best supporting capacity being an investor in that space, and I really wanted to make that happen. If you ask me what's missing and where we need more support is teaching and teaching. A lot of people do not know how economic the things already are, how much money you can only earn with this technology, and just from an economical reasons, there's no reason not to be renewable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you actually earn money from your solar panels today?
I have my own system at home, and we did our quarterly review meeting, my wife and I, and we saved 150 euros per month because we did not have to buy fuel for our car.
That's great. I love to hear that. What's one piece of advice for a founder entering this space?
It's a really exciting industry. You will meet a lot of friends. It's definitely in the right area where we can really make all together the difference and stay curious.
And what are the three most important things to be a successful energy tech VC?
Yeah, good question. So that's a good question. Yeah, it never ends with success, isn't it? So, but maybe the same, no? It's stay curious. Partnership is key, and the basic rules of VC always apply. But there's something else you need to figure out.
Where can we find you online if people want to reach out to you?
Do you mean my email or my telephone number?
No, I mean like if people want to reach out, like are you on LinkedIn,
Yeah, I'm
Twitter?
Twitter
Like,
and LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, feel
Just
free to give your telephone number, but you might get a lot of phone calls.
no. Let's reach out via LinkedIn. That's a good idea.
And then one last question for you today. Who is the next climate venture capitalist that I should get on the podcast?
I guess you had them all. Did you already talk to Green Code Ventures?
I did not.
It's a female-founded venture capital group from Finland. It's Terry and Ines. Happy to connect you later then.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Well, look, I had a very interesting discussion with you today. I think I learned a lot about the energy market. I think it's interesting to see VCs also investing a lot in the software aspect of energy. And I love your point on like hardware maybe should be financed by subsidies and government. I think that's very interesting. If you like this episode and if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you are on YouTube, or give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you so much, Jan.
Will do. Thank you, Ugo. Bye.